Hi guys, welcome to week 2. So this week we're going to cover chapters 3 and chapter 4 in your textbook. Chapter 3 is all about supply and demand and sort of understanding how we characterize markets using supply and demand curves. It's also going to talk about sort of shifts in supply and demand and how we can use that to predict and explain changes in price and quantity. So I'd say the big topics from chapter 3 is you got to understand sort of the nature of supply and demand, and then understand how to figure out market equilibrium, which is where supply and demand curves intersect. And then also understand what things would shift a demand curve or shift a supply curve, and shifting the demand or the supply curve is going to result in a new equilibrium price and quantity. And another feature about equilibrium that you really want to pay attention to is that it's really stable, and if you get kicked out of equilibrium for any reason, that market forces always tend to pull you back in. Chapter 4 is about elasticity. I'm only going to cover price elasticity of demand, cross-price elasticity, and income elasticity. I'm not going to hold you guys responsible for price elasticity of supply. And so the last sort of section of the chapter 4 you don't need to worry about too much, but I do want you to understand price elasticity of demand, which is basically understanding how changes in price are going to impact quantity demanded. And so is a good very responsive in terms of quantity demanded, or unresponsive when it comes to a change in price. So an example would be like gasoline is really unresponsive to changes in price. If gas goes up in price, you still got to drive to work. Other things that have more substitutes, like say peanuts, for example, or iced tea, if those things go up in price, then people are more likely to switch to a cheaper alternative or some other kind of substitute. So chapter 4 really helps us kind of understand the nature of the demand curve and the shape of the demand curve. Is it steep? Is it shallow? And what does that mean? So this week we've got Learn Smarts. I broke up the chapter 3 into 2 parts. One due Tuesday, one due Thursday, and then the chapter 4 is due on Friday. I've also assigned some homework this week. And so the first one is sort of a practice homework to get you familiar with McGraw-Hill's graphing tools. I've given you unlimited attempts on that one, and just get it done. You'll get full credit. The other homework is covering chapters 1 through 3, and these homework assignments, the chapter homework assignments that I sort of assign separately, these are the ones that are really going to be a midterm prep. These questions on this homework assignment are going to be very similar to the questions you're going to face on the midterm next week. So make sure that you take your time, you kind of understand the stuff, and if you don't understand the stuff, the solutions will be made available to you after the Sunday's due date. I've given you 3 attempts on that homework, so if you mess up and you see that you got some stuff wrong, or you got questions wrong and you think you know where it is, you can go back and revise your previous attempt 2 different times. So you'll get a total of 3 attempts on that if you want. Also, we've got some discussions this week. They're all pretty self-explanatory. So Learn Smart, 2 homework assignments, and some discussions is sort of what's on the agenda for this week. And then sort of keep in the back of your mind that next week is going to be the midterm covering chapters 1 through 5. And you will get an extra homework on chapter 4 and 5 before that midterm. All right, I hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you next time.